Welcome back to our channel, B&B fans. Today is an absolutely phenomenal day to dive deep into the scandalous and ever-evolving lives of the Forrester, Logan, and Spencer families. The drama in Los Angeles is reaching an unprecedented volcanic boiling point, and we have the latest, most explosive updates right here. Let's jump straight into the shocking twists that will leave you breathless. The Cliff House, usually a sanctuary of crashing ocean waves and familial warmth, has transformed into a suffocating battleground of unspoken sins, lingering trauma, and desperate pleas for forgiveness. John Finn Finnegan has been pouring his heart out, desperately trying to mend the shattered pieces of his marriage following the catastrophic disaster in Monaco. He believes that his failure to protect his wife from the looming shadow of his biological mother, Sheila Carter, is the sole reason for the icy chasm that has formed between them. Finn is completely oblivious to the far more sinister and destructive secret that is currently eating away at Steffy Forrester Finnegan's soul. The truth is, the foundation of the SINN marriage is resting on a ticking time bomb, and the detonator is currently in the hands of the most dangerous woman in Los Angeles. Steffy's return from the French Riviera was not just marked by the trauma of seeing Sheila stalking her family, but by the devastating, alcohol-fueled mistake she made in the immediate aftermath. Seeking refuge in the Forrester Creations CEO office, a heavily intoxicated and emotionally shattered Steffy crossed the ultimate line with a grieving Carter Walton. Carter, who was mourning the heartbreaking departure of his wife, Daphne Rose Walton, after her severe infertility diagnosis, found solace in Steffy's mirrored devastation. Their passionate, steamy affair was supposed to be a secret they would take to their graves, a desperate pact made in the harsh light of the morning after. But secrets of this magnitude never stay buried in the fashion capital of the world, especially when they leave behind physical evidence that cannot be ignored. Over the past few weeks, Steffy has been battling an overwhelming sense of dread, accompanied by physical symptoms that she initially tried to brush off as mere stress from the ongoing corporate war with Logan Creations. However, the undeniable nausea, the overwhelming fatigue, and the late cycle forced her to confront a terrifying reality. A discreetly purchased pregnancy test confirmed her absolute worst nightmare. Steffy Forrester Finnegan is pregnant. Given the timing of her intimate encounters with Finn before the Monaco trip and the scandalous night with Carter immediately after, the paternity is a horrifying question mark. But deep down, driven by the sheer panic of the timeline, Steffy knows there is a massive, undeniable chance that the child growing inside her belongs to Carter Walton. The realization hits Steffy like a freight train, completely paralyzing her with fear. If this secret were to be exposed, the collateral damage would be apocalyptic. It would not only permanently destroy her marriage to Finn, a man who has loved her unconditionally despite his blind spot for his biological mother, but it would also obliterate Carter's life. Daphne has just returned from Paris, eager and willing to fight for her marriage and explore alternative paths to parenthood with Carter. If Daphne were to find out that her husband, who desperately wants a child, impregnated the Forrester co-CEO during a drunken night of grief, it would shatter her completely. The scandal would also create an unprecedented public relations nightmare for Forrester Creations, providing Katie Logan and Bill Spencer with the ultimate ammunition to destroy the Forrester legacy. Driven by sheer, unadulterated terror and the desperate need to protect her family, Steffy made a drastic and heartbreaking decision. She could not allow this pregnancy to continue. She could not risk the DNA test, the exposure, and the destruction of 4 lives. Operating under a veil of extreme secrecy, Steffy scheduled an appointment at a highly discreet maternity and women's health clinic on the outskirts of Los Angeles. She believed she had covered her tracks perfectly, ensuring that no one from Forrester Creations, and certainly not her husband, would ever discover her whereabouts. But Steffy severely underestimated the relentless, predatory nature of the woman she hates most in the world. Sheila Carter, in her frantic and delusional desperation to cling to Finn and secure a permanent place in his family, has been operating as a phantom in the shadows. Refusing to accept Steffy's hardline boundaries, Sheila has been quietly and meticulously stalking her daughter-in-law ever since Steffy returned from Monaco. Sheila's dark obsession with the Finnegan family has pushed her into a state of hyper-vigilance, watching Steffy's every move, hoping to find a weakness, a vulnerability, or a mistake that she could exploit to turn Finn against his wife. When Sheila tracked Steffy's car to the unassuming, discreet maternity clinic, her predatory instincts immediately flared. Lurking in the background, hidden from view, Sheila watched with bated breath as Steffy emerged from the clinic's sliding glass doors. The sight before Sheila was incredibly revealing. Steffy, usually the epitome of fierce, unyielding Forrester confidence, looked entirely broken. Her face was pale, her posture was slumped, and her eyes were brimming with unshed tears. The formidable CEO looked completely devastated and vulnerable, a stark contrast to the woman who had fiercely thrown her wedding ring at Finn on the Monaco beach. Sheila's twisted mind began to race, calculating the possibilities. Why would a wealthy, powerful woman like Steffy visit such a discreet, out-of-the-way clinic? And why would she look so utterly shattered upon leaving? Never one to let an opportunity slip through her fingers, Sheila waited until Steffy's car disappeared down the street before making her move. Slipping into the clinic with her signature manipulative charm, Sheila targeted a vulnerable-looking medical assistant. Using a combination of veiled threats, fabricated stories about being a concerned relative, and a substantial, undeniable cash bribe, Sheila managed to extract the highly confidential information she was seeking. The medical assistant, blinded by the cash, revealed the shocking truth. Steffy Forrester Finnegan had just confirmed a pregnancy, but instead of celebrating, she had immediately requested the paperwork and scheduling for an urgent, immediate termination of the pregnancy. The revelation hit Sheila with the force of a lightning bolt, instantly transforming her confusion into sheer, malicious glee. This was the golden ticket she had been desperately praying for. In Sheila's twisted, distorted reality, this was the ultimate proof that Steffy was a cold-blooded, heartless monster who did not deserve Finn's love or devotion. To Sheila, the idea that Steffy would secretly abort Finn's child without even consulting him was the ultimate betrayal of the family unit Sheila so obsessively reveres. Sheila did not know about Carter Walton. She fully assumed the child was Finn's. Recognizing the apocalyptic power of this information, Sheila quickly used her phone to secretly record the bribed staff member, confirming the appointment details, securing the undeniable proof she needed to execute her master stroke. With the explosive evidence burning a hole in her pocket, Sheila's plan crystallized with terrifying speed. She was not just going to tell Finn, she was going to show him. She was going to orchestrate a confrontation so visceral, so undeniable, that it would shatter Finn's pedestal for Steffy forever. Sheila knew she had to act immediately before Steffy could go through with the procedure and erase the evidence of her supposed cruelty. Meanwhile, back at the Cliff House, Finn was completely consumed by his own guilt and determination to save his marriage. He was pacing the living room, looking at framed photos of his family, meticulously planning a romantic gesture to prove to Steffy that he was fully committed to their future. He had vowed to eradicate Sheila from his life, promising Steffy that her safety and peace of mind were his absolute priorities. Finn's heart ached with the desire to make things right, completely blind to the fact that the very woman he had sworn to banish was currently speeding toward his home, carrying a weapon of mass emotional destruction. The heavy, tense silence of the Cliff House was violently shattered when the front door burst open. Sheila Carter stormed into the living room, her face contorted into a mask of frantic, Oscar-worthy panic. Before Finn could even process her sudden, forbidden intrusion, Sheila lunged forward, grabbing his arm with a desperate, iron grip. She began screaming, her voice laced with fake hysteria and manufactured maternal concern. She cried out that Steffy was at a hospital, that she was making a terrible, catastrophic mistake, and that if Finn did not leave with her this exact second, he would regret it for the rest of his natural life. Finn was instantly thrown into a state of sheer panic. The mention of Steffy at a hospital triggered his deepest fears, his mind instantly flashing back to the shootings, the accidents, and the trauma they had endured. He demanded to know what was wrong, if Steffy was hurt, if there had been a car crash. But Sheila expertly dodged his questions, using the ambiguity to fuel his adrenaline. She physically dragged a bewildered and terrified Finn out the door and into her car, insisting that there was no time to explain, that he just had to see it for himself to stop the tragedy from unfolding. The drive to the clinic was a blur of agonizing suspense for Finn, his heart hammered against his ribs as he envisioned 100 different horrific medical emergencies. When Sheila finally pulled the car into the parking lot of the discreet maternity clinic, Finn's confusion deepened. This wasn't the emergency room at his hospital. This wasn't a trauma center. As Sheila practically shoved him through the front doors of the clinic, the sterile, unforgiving fluorescent lights cast a harsh glow over the scene that would forever alter the trajectory of his life. Finn's eyes frantically scanned the waiting area until they landed on a familiar figure standing at the reception desk. It was Steffy. She wasn't bleeding. She wasn't injured. She was standing there, filling out a stack of medical intake forms, her hands visibly trembling as she handed her credit card to the receptionist. Finn's medical training kicked in as he read the signage around him, the pamphlets on the walls, the nature of the clinic. The realization washed over him like a bucket of ice water, paralyzing him in his tracks. His wife was checking into a maternity ward, and the heavy, secretive atmosphere made the purpose of her visit agonizingly clear. Before Finn could even find the breath to speak, Sheila's voice sliced through the quiet clinic, triumphant and laced with venom. She loudly announced their presence, intervening with a theatrical gasp, declaring that they were there to stop Steffy from making a heartless, irreversible mistake. Steffy whipped around, the color instantly draining from her face. The sight of Finn standing there, guided by the malicious, smirking presence of Sheila Carter, sent a shockwave of absolute terror through Steffy's entire body. The clipboard slipped from her trembling fingers, clattering loudly against the linoleum floor. The fiery, explosive confrontation that erupted in that clinic waiting room was a masterclass in tragic misunderstandings and devastating secrets. Finn, his voice cracking with heartbreak and disbelief, stepped forward. He looked at his wife, the woman he worshipped, and asked the question that was tearing his soul apart. How could she be pregnant and not tell him? How could she walk into a clinic to terminate the life of their child without a single word, without a discussion, without giving him the chance to be a father to this new baby? Finn's pain was palpable, a raw, bleeding wound as he felt the ultimate betrayal of a husband and a father who believed his wife was erasing their creation out of spite or anger over the Monaco incident. But while Finn was drowning in the grief of a father losing a child he thought was his, Steffy was drowning in a completely different, far more terrifying nightmare. She stood there, trembling uncontrollably, her eyes darting between Finn's shattered expression and Sheila's victorious, predatory glare. Steffy could not defend herself. She could not tell Finn that he was wrong to feel betrayed as a father, because the horrifying truth was that he likely wasn't the father at all. The secret of her drunken, passionate night with Carter Walton was screaming in her mind, threatening to tear her throat open. Steffy was trapped in an impossible, suffocating corner. If she let Finn believe she was aborting his child out of cold-blooded cruelty, it would destroy his love for her and validate every malicious lie Sheila had ever spun. But if she confessed the truth that she was terminating the pregnancy because the baby was likely the result of a scandalous affair with the Forester, coup, it would instantly detonate their marriage, obliterate Carter and Daphne's fragile reconciliation, and cause a corporate scandal of epic proportions. Sheila stood back, watching the magnificent destruction she had orchestrated unfold perfectly. She had successfully positioned herself as the savior of Finn's unborn child, painting Steffy as the ultimate villain. The dramatic irony was suffocating. Sheila believed she was exposing Steffy's cruelty toward Finn, completely unaware that she was actually on the precipice of exposing the greatest infidelity in recent Forrester history. As Finn demands answers, his tears falling freely as he begs Steffy to explain how she could be so cold, the tension in the room reaches an unbearable, explosive peak. Steffy's silence is deafening, her inability to formulate a lie leaving Finn to draw his own devastating conclusions. The walls are rapidly closing in on the Forrester CEO. Will the crushing weight of Finn's heartbreak force Steffy to confess the ultimate betrayal with Carter Walton? Or will she allow Finn to believe she is a heartless monster, sacrificing her character to protect the explosive secret of the paternity? The fallout from this clinic confrontation is destined to leave Los Angeles in absolute ruins, and we will be here to cover every single dramatic second of it.